Before we proceed, let us define what is a lab. A lab is an environment where the teacher, for example, would like students to do some kind of development that is required on different operating systems such as Linux, Windows, and so on. And in this case, we need dedicated devices with the special operating systems so that those students will be able to apply with the teacher. On the other hand, if teachers would like to train students on, for example, Python, Minecraft, or any application that requires certain setup from a computer, and some students might not have that kind of device. So in this case, using Azure Lab Services will be the ideal choice. Let's say that the school or university are upgrading their teaching and learning system, and they got, for example, a simulation program that will help students to do some kind of simulation, or they want them to do a investigation on a certain topic, to learn more, to download large data, to run sophisticated programs in order to collect the data, to analyze the data so that they will be able to get the right conclusion. And the school or university has only like a very old devices or softwares or operating system. So also again here the solution will be by utilizing Azure Labs. In this way, we can get a virtual machine with all the specs that we need in order to run the simulation or in order to save the large data. And in this way, we are solving the problem of the student and we are supporting them in their success journey. On the other side, we find out that sometimes our infrastructure is aging and we need to refresh the devices, we need to refresh the operating system, we need to get more and more applications, for example, and that might cost us a lot of money. And we always would like to give the best for our student. However, we want to maintain the cost of this infrastructure. On the other side, we want to expand over to overseas campuses, for example, and we need to support online student for any case. So if we have all these problems, Azure Lab Services will be the right choice. The best part is the setup and the deployment of Azure Lab Services. So we will start from top hierarchy, where the admin, the IT admin who owns the subscriptions, will be creating different resource groups. These resource groups could be, for example, per department, if we are speaking about higher education, or it could be per schools, if we are speaking about, for example, ministries of education, or it could be per subject, for example, subject matter, if we are speaking about a private school that is eager to utilize Azure Labs. From there, from each resource group, we can add as much labs as we want, and we can assign it to the faculty member that is handling a group of students. We will start from the IT administrator who will be creating the resource group. Let us do a deployment and to see step by step how the resource groups will be created. Number one is to go to a website called portal.azure.com. And here you have to sign in with the IT admin username and password. And from there, we will search for something called a resource group. After selecting resource group, now we need to add a new resource. So first step is to start by selecting the subscription that you have, and then you can start by naming the resource group. As we mentioned before, you can either name it by the college if you are at a university level, or by the school name if you are doing it at a ministry level. And then you will select your region. For example, here we have Central US. You can do your like testing to see which is the most cost efficient for you, which data center is most efficient for you, which data center is faster when we are utilizing it. So all of these you can test it before you select your region. Now we need to set the Azure Lab Services. So the first step is to go to All Services. From there, select DevOps. And here you will find Lab Services. Just click on Lab Services and click on Create. Click on the Add button in order to start creating the Azure Labs at your tenant. While you are creating, the first step is to add either the school name or, for example, the college name. And then we will select the Azure subscription according to the tenant that we have. And then we will select the resource group that we just created. Again, we will select the location. The best location for us will be North Europe. From there, we need to assign a lab creator that will take care of the Azure labs that will be created in each school or at each college. So here, the best one that will fit this role, which is the lab creator, is either the IT of the school or the IT of the college. So all you have to do is to click on the lab creator and click on Add Lab Creator. Then you need to click on Add a Role, and you will have to select the role to be a lab creator. Then you have to say Assign to Access and select Azure Active Directory users. Then you will write or you will select the name of the IT that will be responsible for creating the labs. Now that we created the resource group and we give access for the IT at each school to create the labs, let us see the view of the school IT. So the school IT will go to labs.azure.com and then they have to sign in with their account. After they successfully log in, they will click on the IT labs and they can create a new lab. Or simply they will click on Create Lab if this is the first time they are opening this portal. For each lab, they can select, after writing the name of the lab, for example, grade 9 in this case, they will select the image. So for example, it could be a template like this one, Minecraft. So here the IT at the ministry, for example, have created an image. They downloaded the necessary software. So the IT at the schools that can reuse it, or they can simply start from scratch and select from the pool of images that is ready for them. After selecting the image, they have to log in with their username and password. And here they can customize some policies for each lab. So for example, they can select the number of hours available to each users outside of the schedule. We will speak about the schedule in a while. Then they can put, for example, if the user is not using the virtual machine, so it will be disconnected after 15 minutes. This is to reserve the cost of the virtual machine, of the working virtual machine. Also, they can select to shut down the virtual machine after, for example, 10 minutes if the user is not utilizing it or if it detected to be idle. And also here we can select when to shut down when the user do not connect. So even if the teacher initiated the virtual machine and the student didn't connect, here also we can select that after 5 minutes the virtual machine will not be working even if the teacher triggered the lab to open for them. And then you will select Finish. Another role for the IT at the schools or at the colleges is to assign roles for teachers for each and specific lab that they created. So here, for example, we will take the example of the Minecraft lab. So we will select the Minecraft lab in order to assign the specific teacher that teaches this lab. So from here, we can add a new So we can click on add, and then the role should be owner so that the teacher can add and remove a student, and they will select the name of that teacher. And for sure, click on save. We can add more than one owner to a lab, so this is helpful, for example, when the teacher is absent for several days and we have a substitute, or when we have assistant professor, for example, at higher education. So we can easily add more lab owners that will be able to add students, to stop the machines and control the Azure labs. So till now, the IT created the labs. As you can see here, he created, for example, 3 labs. The IT assigned teachers or professors for each lab. Now also what the IT can support in is, for example, downloading certain softwares and preparing them so that the teacher will just add the student and everything will be ready for her. So after they selected a lab, this is the view of the IT, and also it will be the same view for the teachers. Here we have several options. One of them is the dashboard, where I can see the cost estimate. So here it's telling me the estimate of this lab, how many users I have, the hours, the quota, and so on. So these are very nice and informative information that will help me to keep the cost as low as possible. The second step I have to do is to click on the template, as you can see from here, and then to click on customize the template. So the whole virtual machine will open for me, and from there I can download the software or the application that the teacher will need, and in this way everything will be working smoothly. So for example, I went into the template and I downloaded the Minecraft. So now all the virtual machine will have Minecraft downloaded as part of the VM, so student can easily log in. To close the template, simply click on this toolbar, the blue one, so that you will close the template and everything that was done here will be replicated on the remaining virtual machines. Now let's go to the teacher view and see how easy it is to work with the Azure Labs. It doesn't need a lot of complicated steps. It's straightforward. The teacher only needs to add student, and we have variety of ways to add the students. So here she will click on one of those labs to start adding the students. That view was from azure.labs.com. If you don't need the teacher to go to several, for example, portals, you can simply guide them of how they can go to a team that they are teaching. They can add a tab and they will select Azure Lab Services. They will click on the word add. And here you go. You will have the same layout that you have if you went to azure.labs.com. Now, in order to add students, we will go to the tab Users in each lab. For example, we are within ICT Grade 5. We will go to Users here in order to add student. Now, we can add them manually or we can synchronize them from a group. If we are using Microsoft Teams, synchronizing them from a group will be much easier. So all you have to do is to write the name of the team that you are teaching, and all the students will be added automatically. If you are using another platform, you can simply select add manually, and then you will add by email. So you can copy paste the emails here, or you can click on upload CSV file, and also it is the third way of adding students. If you don't have the like any group or you don't have their email address, you can simply click on invite all, and from this you can send them a URL where they can follow and be added to your lab in Azure Lab Services. If you don't want to make it via an email, you can simply click on registration link, and then you can copy that link and send it to the student using any platform. As a teacher, you can always track the progress of the student. So for example, here I can see that this student has a running machine, whereas the remaining student, their machine is working, so you can click on the connect and see what the student is doing in this virtual machine. And you can stop them all at any time you need. So this is nice if you are making like an assignment with a specific timeline, so you can open it during any specific time, and then you can stop it for all, and in this way you give them equal timing to finish a certain task. Or you can keep it for them like and you can build a schedule for utilizing the Azure Labs. So here you can select like event type, you can select the date, the starting time, the stopping time, and the time zone. So if the student went before this time or after this time, they will not be able to connect to the Azure Lab. Thus, they will not be able to do the tasks that you need before or after your specific timing. The same view that the IT has, also the teacher will be able to monitor the cost of the machines, so she can control when the machine will be shut down, if it is idle, or if the student didn't log in. In this way, we are saving the cost of these machines if the students are not utilizing them. Finally, let us see the student view and how they can utilize Azure Labs in a very simple steps. So if the teacher selected to send them via an email, to send them the invite via an email, they will receive an email and they will receive this button, which is registration for the lab. And from here, they can open the Azure Lab Services. So they can enable the Azure Lab and then they will click on the desktop version. A small box will be downloaded over here. They will click on it and they will have a virtual machine with all the specifications that the teacher included and all the needed software in order to finalize the task. The most easiest view for the student is to add the virtual lab as a tab, as we already created in the teacher view. And in this way, whenever, for example, they have physics and they need to use the Azure Labs for the physics, they will go to the tab called Virtual Lab. They will start the machine, and from here, they can start working on the virtual machine. So they will click on connect, it will start downloading. When it's finished, they will click on this one, which is open file. And from here, they will have the view of a regular Windows screen, but it is all virtual. So this is the view. Imagine now that I have a very old desktop, or I'm having different operating systems. Whenever I click on the open file, it will open for me a regular Windows view, and all the needed softwares are downloaded. So I will simply search for the application, run the application, work on it, finish the task, and then end the Azure Labs. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the session. Looking forward to supporting you and utilizing Azure Labs at your schools or universities.